Let's go back to the conversation about lean manufacturing. Imagine the auto industry in 1986. It took GM 40 hours to make a car with 13 defects per car. Today, Toyota can manufacture a car in 18 hours with only 4.5 defects per car. Why does it take some agents hours to sell a house and other agents can do it very quickly? Why do some agents never seem to have problems with their deals? Because they have a system, because they are already running a lean operation, whether they know it or not, to some extent. So just like a factory, we process raw materials in real estate, and our raw materials are value-added work. We're bringing something of, providing something of value to our clients. So from the perspective of lean, there's three kinds of activities. The customer must be willing to pay for the activity. So, are customers willing to pay us for lead generation? Well, they are, because we're reaching out to them and they will pay us if we sell their house. So lead generation is definitely something that would be under the lean banner, because the customer is willing to, what are the things the customer is willing to pay us for? Absolutely. Bring a buyer, put a deal together. So that's our raw materials. Two, the activity must transform the service in some way. So does having a good calendar transform your service level? So operating a calendar, Donna described it, that's a lean system. The activity must be done correctly the first time. How many hours do we spend cleaning up activities in real estate that were not done correctly the first time? Absolutely. But whether it's by something that we didn't do correctly, something our team didn't do correctly, something the lender didn't do correctly, something the appraiser didn't do correctly, something the title company didn't do correctly, something the insurance agent didn't do correctly, shall I go on? So when things are done correctly the first time, it saves a lot of time. Is it more time and energy efficient for you to be deleting emails you don't want to see? Or is it more time and energy efficient for you to be unsubscribing so they never show up in your box again? Unsubscribe, right. So does it make sense to take a block of time and unsubscribe so that you can get your mailbox lean? You know, an example of value-added work for a customer is to make the transaction transparent to them. You know, how can they see what's going on? Do you have a system for allowing them to do that? That's value-added work. So let me just go into the Kanban, which is a system that all manufacturing businesses use. And what I did is I took the principles and I applied them to my life and real estate in different ways. So the Kanban has three columns: backlog, doing, and done. What this does is this creates a focused workflow so that you're not working on too many things at once. So your factory, car factory, is not sitting with a bunch of cars, each one that needs to be checked, and you're confused about which one you should be working on. So what this does is it takes your attention and makes things very clear and focused. So the first one I created was for my business, and what I did was I put every single person on a sticky note in the backlog column that might be doing something in 6 months. Any inquiries I'd gotten, that they might sell. You can load the column up. All right, so you have a lot of notes on this backlog column. By motivation, and they need to get their CMA done. I'll take, let's say their name is Joe. I'm going to put him in the doing column. Now, I also have somebody that's pretty hot that I need to follow up, Susan. This is lead follow-up Kanban. And I'll show you different ways to create different Kanbans. Joe stays in done. Usually I take him out at the end of the month. I love seeing this fill up. So usually I would run this on a monthly basis. And, you know, when you could also do it when Joe settles, take Joe off. But I would kind of do it on a monthly basis to kind of keep the flow going, because you want to keep this flowing. This is an active working thing. The rule is backlog into the doing column until you can get somebody done So let's say Susan signed a contract, listing contract. My follow-up with her is done. So then I'll move somebody else, and I keep filling my backlog as people call in. So what this eliminated for me was people being buried in my database and I couldn't remember who was important, and people that I needed to follow up on that maybe I didn't consider that high a priority, but I wanted to follow up on them in 3-6 months. I could look visually, look on my backlog column and see who I needed to follow up on. Yes.
You could use your backlog as your hot pipeline.
You could.
Yeah.
It's up to you. Yeah. This could be your hot pipeline, and then when you start working on a contract or a CMA, they go over here in the doing column. Now, there is a case where you might want to move somebody back to the backlog. Let's say they cooled off. Let's say that they told you that a circumstance is going to cause them not to move for 6 months. So Ann goes back in the backlog column. Okay, who else do I have over here that I need to follow up on and get an appointment? I'm going to move them over here until I get something done, a contract signed, a closing, a listing agreement, then they go into the done column. You can do it for anything because this was a way where I could see the Kanban could be applied to real estate and make me money. And I did get 10 listings the first month that I did it because it created focus. If they're not going to do anything, then I just take this off and I throw it away. Yeah, forget about them. As many as I can fill this with. I like to keep it as full as I can. No. I just look down through them and I say, okay, I finished Tom. Who needs to come over here now? Because see, what we do as real estate agents is we usually have this all in here. So we're trying to do 20 people at one time. I identify them the way I'll recognize them. It may be an address, it may be a name. But this uses the Toyota principle. You are only working on what's important at any one time. In terms of lean, what they say is your focus should be on one thing at a time. Finish that before you move on to something else. This is so anti-real estate. You know, it probably makes some of you like, you get to make the decision. Are you gonna, you have somebody hotter over here? Take Tom back over here, and let's move Ann over here because she's more motivated. Yes, you can use this for your hot pipeline or your medium hot pipeline. What I do is like anybody that calls me, I put them in backlog. Anybody, I keep 2 Kanbans. I keep the personal one at home for personal things I need to get done. So on my home one, the backlog may be something that I do on a regular basis, massage, or I need to call a contractor, or I need to work on my taxes. So then on your personal things that you're doing, you can also do this to focus on what needs to get done. So I don't like to work on my taxes. So when I had my Kanban set up and I had taxes here, what I'd do is I'd work on them 20 minutes a day. I'd put them over here and doing. And when I got the 20 minutes done, I'd put them over and done, and then I'd move it back over here for the next week. So it's a system that it has flexibility and you can use it for anything. When I was using this, I was really focused on listings, but I don't think you'd need to classify them. I think you could use it for any hot leads or any leads at all. Yeah, it's very visual, and it's in a way that, some of you probably keep a whiteboard and you'll keep a list of what you've got coming up, but there's no action to that. There's no movement to that. Mike Stott and I talked about there's something so satisfying about moving the sticky note from doing to done. There's all kinds of online Kanban programs that you can use, but for me it's not the same. Like, I feel like I've accomplished something if I'm moving Ann into done. And again, like Teresa saves her sticky notes from the people that she's done. Yeah, there is the energy of enjoyment around. That was a repeating activity. So I moved it back the doing column or the backlog column because I was breaking it down into small, sweet steps. Yeah, right. I'd work on it Saturday morning from 8 to 8:30, move it over to done, feel good for a little while and go, ooh, wow, I accomplished my small, sweet step. That rubber band tension has been removed. And it's simple, okay? So look at what this does. Talk about a system that meets a lot of our criteria. And most of the manufacturing companies that I've been in have a Kanban on their wall. for manufacturing. So there's consistency to implement, there's tracking, it's duplicatable, it's inexpensive, easy to follow, documented, makes life easier, less human effort, value added for the customer because I'm focused like a laser beam on 3 to 5 customers at a time. And that takes a lot less energy than trying to focus on 20 people at a time that you're chasing. Oh, I see your heads going, yeah, that's good. I only had 2. I had one kept at home for my personal life, and then I had this one in my office. So as people were coming in, I was working on it. I just it's action oriented. This is what I like about it. It's not a stagnant document. It's action oriented that every day, instead of having all the choices that we're talking about and being confused, you walk in your office and you say, okay, I'm working on Dick, Jane, and Ann. That's what I'm doing. And I'm going to complete things with them. Either I'm going to get an appointment, I'm going to get a contract, or I'm going to get a listing signed, or they're going to move back over here and I'll focus on somebody else. Do you think there's value added for the customer here when you're absolutely laser beam focused on serving them?
So
yeah.
You've made those Post-its your big rocks for that day.
Yes, those are the big rocks. Yes. Look, after the CMA has been delivered, then I'll move it to done. Or after I get something signed, I'll move it to done. It really is up to you how you define what done is for you. So it may be that, having a CMA done is not worthy of being in this column for you. You want this all to be people that are signing contracts. Yeah, there's virtual Kanban bonds for iPad and they are really nice. I just prefer the tactile satisfaction of that. So, any other questions about the Kanban? I just want to mention one other lean system that we've used in coaching, and that's the Pomodoro. Does anybody know about the Pomodoro? Okay. The Pomodoro is a timer. So in lean systems, what it does is it time blocks for you. So you set a timer for 25 minutes because the belief is you can do anything for 25 minutes, right? So if you're having a struggle with lead generation, set a timer. And the Pomodoro looks like a tomato. It's an actual Italian timer that's the guy that invented the concept uses a tomato timer. But you can set any timer for 25 minutes, and that creates your time block. Because you can lead generate for 25 minutes, right? That's breaking it down into small steps. Then you take a 10-minute break and do something to relieve your mind. Take a walk. That's when you can play your Candy Crush or whatever. But you're disciplined about it, and then you have another 25-minute time block that you have promised to complete. So that's another lean system that you can use that's fun. Teresa mentioned fun. And what these do for me is they've brought the energy of enjoyment into my prospecting, my lead generation, my time blocking. We have to play these little tricks with our minds, right?